Hi, welcome to this episode of the Transformed Teacher Podcast, which is also being streamed live on my Instagram page. You can follow me there at Meredith. Today's topic is understanding how your well-being impacts your students. And I love my classroom so much because it reminds me of my English teacher at Page High School in Greensboro, North Carolina, Miss Trail. And her classroom was really big with wide open windows like I've got in mine. And in the springtime, she would keep all her windows open. And she would say that she loved to have the fresh breeze blowing in and the fans whirling. And I just felt like her class was a breath of fresh air. And I try to give that to my students as well. And I remember being a sophomore back in 1994, I would sit in the back of her class and I would dream about doing what she was doing, like just explicating world literature in such an expert way. But she was also so warm and compassionate and encouraging. And she was the definition of equanimity. And equanimity to me means composure, staying calm, staying cool and collected, even though that's not always possible 100% of the time. But I can't recall a time that she was ever mean or raising up a voice. All I remember is a genuine smile and this excitement that she shared with us for what she was teaching. And she seemed to truly light up when we could prove to her as students that we were really getting it. And my dream of teaching in a classroom like hers came true in 2014 when I started teaching here at Orange High School in Hillsborough, North Carolina. I taught across the hall back then. And the classroom that I inherited was really big with tall ceilings and wide open windows. And I remembered Mrs. Trail, and I still think about how I just wanted to emulate her. And every day in that classroom, whenever I have my planning period, and in this classroom as well, the acoustics are so good in here that I just love to blast my music during my planning period or before the students come in. And my favorite songs are like 80s and 90s. I don't know about you, like rock, hip hop, whatever. I just that's my jam. But I love to just close my classroom door and just dance, and sometimes make my reels on Instagram. And that's how I feel free to teach before my students come in. And that's how I feel like I'm filling up my own cup. And if you're watching and you want to say hello, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to know how your week has started off. Today's Monday. So when we are thinking about how we feel as teachers and our own well-being, it may seem like we're like a tree, you know? I have a new book that I'm working on, and my 6-year-old tells me that I should call it Teach Like a Tree, which I'm actually thinking might be a good idea. But in my old classroom across the way, there was this huge cherry tree that was blossoming outside my window. And every spring, I would watch that tree bloom. And I feel like as teachers, we need to allow ourselves the time to rest and to go inward, and then the time to know when it's time to blossom. Sometimes there are rainy days, sometimes there are sunny days, and sometimes there are days that are just, okay. But no matter what the day brings for you, you deserve to put your well-being at the top of the list. And I remember when I had to leave that classroom almost 4 years ago now, I was sobbing that day. I couldn't even hardly get through the day. And my students and a couple of my colleagues were really making me feel, a few of my colleagues were making me feel really appreciated that day. But it was so hard to say goodbye, and it was a really rainy day. And when I had to say goodbye because our family was moving to Colorado, I wish that I could have gone back and told myself the truth, which is this: go ahead and plan the awesome lessons. Go ahead and grade all the papers. Go ahead and be rigorous and dynamic, and make sure your essential question matches with the learning goal and the agenda. Push your students to do the best, but always do it with this underlying understanding of how much our students need to know that we care. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to know everything. That's not what matters in the end. We can simply give them a break sometimes, and we can give ourselves a break. And sometimes we forget to do that. My good friend Katie of Constant Love and Learning, I highly recommend that you follow her. She does these amazing breathwork sessions. She talked about that last night on one of the breathwork sessions that I attended, about how we don't need to be doing all the time. We can fall into that level of being. Because in the end, those minor mistakes just don't matter. And what sticks with our students is the passion. And that passion for our job and for our lives comes through not just in how much we care about them, but how much we care about ourselves and our souls, and how genuinely happy we feel from the inside out. And multiple studies prove that students perform on all levels, not just academically, but socially, emotionally, and spiritually, when we are feeling like our souls are being taken care of. So I want to share with you some real life stories from my students. I polled them in the spring of 2019, and I have another podcast episode that you can check out about the impact of our well-being on our students and what they actually say. And the way that they feel when we are feeling the feelings that we're feeling is very real. When we are feeling stressed and angry, it makes them not want to be in the class. It makes them even mad or even more, stressed out than they already were. And when we're feeling happy and rejuvenated and like we've got our souls taken care of and we've done what we need to do for our own well-being, they say that it puts them in a good mood. They say, like, if my teacher's happy, then it puts me in a good mood, like I'm willing to learn. But when they're in a bad mood, it makes me just shut down. It makes me not want to do my work. It makes me not want to be in their class. And for some of them, it makes me just want to leave school altogether, like just give up. Because when we're putting all that pressure on ourselves, they feel that pressure. It's like a ripple effect, a domino effect. And we don't want to fall. We want to keep our light on. We want to keep rising up and to our best. So my students say that when a teacher feels negative emotions, they can feel those emotions transmit throughout the whole classroom. But when a teacher is happy, it makes them feel like they can do anything, like they can be themselves and they can push themselves. When they have a challenge that they're facing, when the teacher is lit up and encouraging and kind of go with the flow, it makes them feel like they can do it. So I have so many more stories of these anecdotes from my students about times when teachers were just making them feel discouraged. And I want you to know that if you've ever been in that place where you've been stressed out and maybe you snapped at a kid, or you lost your temper, or you just didn't want to be there that day and you made sure everybody knew it, I want you to know that you're not alone, because I've been there a million times, and well, not a million, but a handful of times. And I keep coming back to teaching as my jam. And when I'm upset with something else that happens in life, maybe I'm late that day, or I didn't get a good weekend, I didn't get that time to myself that I needed, or I just didn't pay attention to my emotions, I didn't deal with them, whatever my mood is, that makes my students feel that energy. And when we don't take that time to make ourselves truly happy from the inside out, which means that you're resilient. It's like water off a duck's back. It's like it just doesn't stick. Or it's like you're an orange peel instead of an apple peel. Like if you take a pin to an orange, doesn't matter. The orange is just like whatever. An apple might be, ooh, that hurts, But when you've really coated yourself with soul care and feeling rejuvenated on every level, your students open up and they feel, even if they're not perfect, because we're not perfect for sure, they feel more at ease. They feel like they're in a safe place. They feel less stressed. So what I'm inviting you to do today is to think about the things that you need to do to really feel more rejuvenated. And I believe that when you tap into your teaching essence, as I like to call it, that is when you can really embrace and nurture the natural teacher that you're born to be. And this isn't the kind of teacher who's irritated and yelling, raising her voice, and taking her bad mood on everybody else. This is the teacher who's recognizing that she has her own soul care that needs to be taken care of. And it allows you to feel happy and feel helpful, and it makes your students think that you really love your job and that you were born to do what you're doing. And it makes them feel inspired and motivated and encouraged, and it makes them feel more comfortable around the other students. And when you have that positive energy that you're sending out, it's a ripple effect. It's more and more positive energy, and it makes them want to learn. So when you tap into your teaching essence, and I write about this in my book, Free to Teach, you can check it out. You can find it on Amazon. It's Free to Teach, 7 Keys to Thrive in an Era of Uncertainty. Your teaching essence is the soul of a teacher. It's beyond your mind, it's beyond your body, it's beyond your heart. It's your soul, it's who you are, it's why you're here on earth. And when you're feeling angry, which we all feel as human beings, and you don't deal with that anger, or you don't deal with those negative vibes, or you don't get them out of your body through, self-care, taking care of your body, that stresses out the students as well. When you are in a good mood, it makes things easier for the students. Like they literally, research shows this, it makes their brains open up. When you have those positive vibes, it makes it easier for them to learn, and it makes it more fun for them to be in your class. When you're stressed, it makes it harder for them to learn, and they don't like being in the class. Another thing that your teaching essence is it's pretty steady. Like, it's why you're created, it's why you're here, and we're all going to be, especially as women, we have our moods, and we're entitled to have them, we get to feel how we're going to feel. But when we have those rapid changes in mood, it makes our students feel very stressed, because when that happens, they don't know what to expect. So when we're stressed, when we're angry, when we're irritated, they allow us to be that way. But if it's, rapid highs and lows, that's just not good for them. And my students describe it as like catching an attitude. So they don't want to catch an attitude, and they don't want us to catch an attitude. So the way that we can keep our attitude truly positive and not a fake it till you make it, but sometimes you do have to just kind of put action before inspiration and just say, you know what, I'm deciding to feel this way today. And I did another video about that and another podcast episode about that the other week, so you want to check that out. But your well-being often falls to the bottom of the list, because especially as women, we're conditioned to believe that our needs come after everyone else. And that's true. I believe that my higher power comes first, and my kids come first, and my students. But when I really put myself at the top of the list, my soul at the top of the list, through meditation, prayer, affirmations, journaling, just quiet time to just drink my coffee or my green tea in the morning, just to read something uplifting, read my devotionals, it really just puts my soul in that place where I'm connecting with my higher power. And I'm not doing it from a place of ego. I'm doing it from a place of, I want to fill myself up so that I have something to give to my students. And it's not just about the pedicures and the manicures and the massages and the facials, which are amazing and really important, and the meditation and the breathing and all of that, because all of those, it's the whole picture of what it looks like for you to really tap into your own well-being. But I just want you to have that complete understanding of the impact that it has on these amazing students that we have the privilege of teaching. And another part of your well-being is really knowing when to say no and listening to your soul. If you're being voluntold to be on a certain committee or chairing another 15 clubs when you're already booked and you're already overwhelmed, or you're feeling guilt for taking a personal day, or you're feeling shamed for being late or just not being perfect, I want you to dare to say no to those feelings. It's not always possible to say no to things in our job that are just part of our job description, like things that we have to do that maybe none of us want to do that we still have to do. But the things that you don't have to take on, I want to challenge you to question them and to say, you know what? This is my one life, and I want to give the kind of experience to my students that they remember forever. I want them to truly grow in my classroom, not just academically, but on every level. And just like that tree that I mentioned at the beginning of this, you need sunlight, you need nourishment, you need water. Sometimes you just need to be completely left alone. It's okay to tune in and say, what do I really need right now? And give it to yourself. Maybe you need a snuggle. Maybe you need a hug if you've got a pet, or a loved one or a family member or a trusted friend and you feel comfortable with physical touch, or maybe you need a massage. Maybe you need a walk out in the fresh air, the rejuvenating sunlight and trees and everything that makes you feel just connected to nature again. Maybe you just need to walk by a river. I love to do that after school. Maybe you just need a really delicious meal that you invest time and energy into preparing because you're worth it, because you deserve to eat nourishing, delicious, satisfying food. Not just from the drive-thru. Every now and then, we got to do the drive-thru. I get it. Like Chipotle, Panera, we got to do that sometimes. But not every single day, right? Because you're worth a home-cooked meal. You're worth planning a meal on a Sunday. And you have to look at your list of to-dos and say, what's priority? And we get into that pleasing mode, but when we can shift from pleasing to prioritizing what's important to us and our souls and the souls of those young people that we're taking care of throughout the day, that's when we can find that courage to say, you know what, how important is it anyway? And I'm not gonna buy into all the hoopla and the noise. I'm gonna trust my intuition here. I'm gonna ask my higher power for help, and I'm gonna move forward with grace and confidence and ease and just go with the flow, because life is so precious and I'm so grateful for every moment, like I had this opportunity. So when I was talking about my teacher at the beginning, I want you to drop in the comments if you'd like, or just send me an email, meredith@thetransformedteacher.com, or send me a direct message here on Instagram. Who was your favorite teacher and what did you love about them? What do you remember about them? And when I was telling you about Miss Trail, she was one of many favorite teachers that I had. It was her teaching essence. It was her equanimity, her calmness, her smooth, streamlined way of just enjoying her job, the way that she just loved her job every day. And she didn't bombard us with, it was an honors class, but she didn't bombard us with a ton of homework and a ton of busy work. I remember the assignments she gave. They were meaningful and they were inspiring. And she was challenging, but it wasn't to the point where we felt stressed out. When you think about those qualities that your favorite teacher embodied and the reason that you became a teacher, I just want to remind you that you deserve to feel that way. You deserve to walk into your classroom and say, this is the life. Like I feel that way every single day at my school. And I know that it's not just because of me, it's because of this wonderful school where I teach, where the students have been raised correctly and the teachers work their rear ends off and the administrators are passionate and dedicated, and we're a community. And I feel like just like a forest where the trees communicate, even if it's just emotionally, at this school not everybody's best friends, but we get along for the most part. Not perfect, for sure, but for the most part people get along. We have each other's backs. Everybody on my hall, you walk down the hall, you get smiles every single day, because when things are functional, they don't have to be perfect. But when things are functional, then everybody benefits. So if you're at a school where things don't feel very functional, if they feel kind of toxic, just remember that you have the right to say, you know what? This might not be the best fit for me. Maybe it's time for me to get a different role or a different position or a different school. You deserve to get out there and experiment and see what you can find. See if you would like the grass to be greener on the other side and go check it out. Just putting your feelers out is fun, just to remember that you get to decide. It's your choice. And you get to decide how you want to feel. And I want you to put your well-being at the top of the list for you and for those precious young lives that we get to steward every day in the way that we feel is best professionally. You know best, especially if you're passionate about this job, and you're dedicated and you're caring and you're a lifelong learner. Trust yourself. Go with your gut. Ask for help. Do what you need to do to feel amazing, because you are so worth it and you deserve to thrive instead of just survive. So you can go to my website, thetransformedteacher.com, and you can download your free 4 to Soar guide, and I can explain a little bit more about how you can really get your well-being to be the best it can be. You can also go to my website to listen to this podcast, The Transformed Teacher, and you can also find out how to bring me to your school or district. I give workshops, presentations, keynotes, little mini sessions, full day sessions, I'd love to help you feel less stress and more joy and help you transform on every level from the inside out. So it's all about progress, not perfection. It's all about taking it one step at a time, one day at a time, and just remembering how amazing you are and how you were born to do this, baby, all right? So if nobody else tells you today, you rock. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.